External Affairs Minister Dr. S Jaishankar is speaking on COVID. Let's go straight across that.
Vis-a-vis COVID situation, will you be raising this issue with them? Will you be seeking help from them? What can you give us a brief outline?
Well, see, Naveen, the G7 had its own agenda. This G7, and there are 4 of us who are guests: ourselves, Australia, South Korea, and South Africa. The agenda already had COVID very much in it, because it is today the biggest challenge, which not just India, the entire world faces. Now, when it comes to the G7 foreign ministers, bear in mind, I am pretty much continuously in touch with all of them. Now, they actually have been through it, many of them. You know, the US has been through it, UK has been through it, Germany, France, Italy. And not just been through it, I mean, they've been through a very, very severe form of it last year and the beginning of this year. In fact, if you look at the, proportionally, in many cases, their intensity is as much as we are going through right now in India. In some ways, it is even more than what we are going through. And a lot of our situations and our stresses today, the hospital situation, the oxygen situation, look, New York has seen it, France has seen it, Italy has seen it. So I was, in fact, though he's not here, just coming in, was talking to my counterpart in Portugal. And he was telling me, he said, look, we just a few months ago, we went through it. We had the highest per capita cases and fatalities. So, but we've come through it. So I think my message going into G7 is, look, this is a global challenge. Everybody knows that. All of you have been through it. We are going through it right now. There are various factors and reasons why it's as serious and severe as it is. And global problems, a global pandemic requires a global effort. And in the past, we have contributed to that global effort, being part of other people's solution. And I am very sure, beginning with the meeting I've already had with Secretary Blinken yesterday, I think the rest of the G7 feels the same.
So, sir, will you be talking about the aid, the financial, the material aid which these countries are giving? And, sir, is it a shift in our policy? Because I think after some decades we are asking for aid, and aid is coming in from foreign countries. So, can you just touch on this topic, sir?
I think we are going, quite honestly, this is, to my mind, not a accurate way of projecting the situation. Because, as I said, COVID is a shared problem for the whole world, okay? Now, just look at last year. When it came, or even this year, when it came to medicines, okay? We gave medicines, hydroxychloroquine, paracetamol, we gave to the United States, okay? We gave to Singapore, we gave to European countries. We sent a medical team to Kuwait. We gave actually vaccines to some countries in the Gulf. Now, would you have described it as aid? We described it actually as friendship, as support. So I think, we have to understand the uniqueness of the problem we are facing today. Okay. So when you say it is not like what it was before, look, there was no COVID before. We've never really had in my lifetime, I'm older than you, I have never seen a global crisis of this proportion. A global crisis requires people to come together. So I think this kind of aid, these arguments, this is sort of point scoring. I think people are not connecting conceptually with the problem. They're not connecting emotionally with the suffering and the danger which is happening in India. When I look, the kind of situation which I'm seeing and you are seeing in Delhi, I'll do everything in my power to get help for people. So I will leverage all my relationships. I will, call in every IOU I have. And I have many. because I have done my share in the past, and people know that. I've had foreign ministers saying, "Look, I'd like to do this." There are people who call up simply to say, "Look, I'm at least morally with you. I feel I would like to do something. I have limitations." So you got to understand. I mean, to say, "Well, this is this is different." Have we gone down in life because we are getting support from outside? I don't think so. I think for me, I have one objective. My people are going through a very difficult phase of COVID in the second wave. As foreign minister, as someone heading a ministry which has relationships around the world, I will do everything which I have accumulated over many, many years to help my people. It's natural.
So there is also a political angle, a lot of coverage, foreign media coverage, covering this pandemic in India in a different manner. You are representing the entire country here and abroad. So how do you defend this? There is some sort of politics is also around this COVID situation in India. So how do you look at it?
Well, sadly, you are right. I wish it wasn't so. But what I can say is, look, again, when it happened in other countries, including UK, when a pandemic hits a society very hard, there are questions, there are arguments, there is a lot of second guessing. You should have seen it coming, we could have told you so, etc. And it's not unique to India. Okay, it's happened in other societies as well. In our case, yes, I'm very conscious of our own debate. Obviously, it's something I hear and I'm involved with every day. People have spoken about elections. Now, obviously, we are a democratic country. You don't stop elections in a place like India. The only time I remember we stopped elections was an era which some decades ago when I was very much younger, where none of us really wants to be associated with that kind of memory. Now, we are a democracy, okay? We are a very argumentative society. Now, there will be this kind of point scoring. Somebody will say, this crowd contributed to it. Somebody else say, well, that crowd contributed to it. Somebody will say, well, some individual or leader A didn't wear a mask here. Somebody will say, well, leader B didn't wear a mask there. So I would say when I go out, in my sense, in my view, I think we need to put a pause to it. We have a serious national crisis. The fact is, societies are defined by their ability to come together when you deal with a crisis of this magnitude. It's like a war. What happens when there's a war? People actually come together as a society. So I would hope very much that that's what we do. Now, I realize that when it comes to the press, our press, foreign press, people will focus on us. It's natural. They will not see. It's people in governance would understand the problem because everybody is been through it, or will say, well, that could be me tomorrow. I think people who say the Indian community will get it because they're worried about their relatives, their friends, their well-wishers out there. But when it comes to the media, there would be media where editorial lines are very strong, where, when I see comments, very frankly, I see a lot of analysis by, by people who write fiction, by people who, who are political commentators. Now, I'm not saying they shouldn't have a view. Everybody has a right to a view in this country. But I would take very seriously the public health people, the people who would actually sit very objectively and diagnose and analyze why we are facing the problem we are. And the fact is that we are facing that problem because these two viruses, the variants, the 117 and the 1617, they have really hit us very, very hard. And they are far more virulent than the the virus strain that we saw last year. I mean, if you just look at our numbers. I mean, we had. I remind you of where we were in February. At the end of February, we were less than 10,000 cases a day. Today, we are at 350,000 cases a day. I mean, it just went up like that. Now, today you can say, well, you should have seen it coming. But let's face it, I mean, you and I both live in that same society. We saw societal fatigue with the lockdown. Today, people are urging lockdowns who were opposing lockdowns earlier. I would say at the end of the day, when I go abroad, I would try to make people understand these are my challenges. This is where international partnerships come into being. Yes, I mean, yesterday, most of my meeting with Secretary Tony Blinken was actually devoted to what will be the solutions in India and the solutions abroad. And the heart of the matter will be vaccines. How do we actually get that kind of vaccination scale, which means vaccination production? And we can't do it right now by ourselves. I mean, we are part of a global pharmaceutical chain. So we all need to sit and work this through. So when I go outside, I mean, I'm not impervious to the debate at home. I mean, that's part of what a very effervescent society like India would be. But I go out, look at what are our national requirements today, but also make the case to people that, I am part of a global solution. Today, I'm going through this crisis. Tomorrow, somebody else will be going through that crisis. And just as I get support from the world today, I will be offering support to the world tomorrow, as I did yesterday, when my situation was better.
So, sir, this after this second wave has struck, this is your first visit abroad. I think, yes, you have come out. So, what are the kind of message you want to convey and you are giving to our embassies, our missions all over the world? What kind of message? Because there is a lot to be done, and lot is done by the missions abroad. So what's your message to them? What are you conveying them? What are you telling them?
Right. I mean, to some extent, it would depend on the mission. But I would say as a general message, I mean, there will be people who would naturally be worried about what's happening in India, as understandably so. So some of it would be to explain to them what is happening. But the key message would be, look, there will be debates in India. Filter that noise. Do what you have to do as a mission. Do your job. And what is your job right now? Your job is to ensure that, the key requirements. Today, oxygen is a major requirement. Pharmaceuticals, remdesivir, other medicines are a requirement. The vaccine supply chain is a requirement. The logistics for all of this is a requirement. I have embassies who are working with shipping lines, with airlines, with different countries creating hubs, looking for. I mean, today how big the oxygen challenge is. So we are getting liquid medical oxygen. We are getting cryogenic tankers. We are getting oxygen tanks. We are getting oxygen cylinders. You have to locate them. You have to organize them, send them. And you've seen now that support is coming in. It's flying in from different countries. All of that requires coordination. Now, I have my message to embassies: keep your eye on that ball. Don't get distracted by the rest of the debate. That's not relevant to what your focus should be. Your focus should be right now a very serious situation at home. Just like the government is focused on addressing the pandemic at home, single-mindedly, you also please do that. So we will deal with the arguments down the road. At the moment, keep your eye and all your energies focused on this.
Thank you, Dr. Jaishankar, for sparing time. You're having a busy schedule in London. So thank you so much, sir, for talking to us.
So this was External Affairs Minister Subramaniam Jaishankar, who was in London and was speaking on COVID and said that this is a global challenge and global pandemic require global efforts. On the help from other countries, he said that we also helped other nations last year and everyone needs to join hands to fight this pandemic, and also said that we have contributed to the global efforts in the past. UK has been a solid friend, he said, and we are getting oxygen plants, oxygen concentrators to address oxygen challenge. But yes, he said people in India are going through a difficult phase of COVID-19. He also said that there will be debates, but urged that we need to focus on the logistics and getting oxygen from everywhere, which is itself a very big challenge, and we don't want to get distracted and focus on what is important. So he's in London to attend the G7 foreign ministers meeting, where India has been invited as the guest country.